Hello students, today we are continuing with 11.2 and we're going to be looking at muscle fibers. So here are the essential understandings. Skeletal muscle fibers are multinucleated and they contain specialized endoplasmic reticulum, and then muscle fibers contain many myofibrils. So we're going to start looking at the organization of skeletal muscles. So let's do this. So let's remember that skeletal muscles are connected to bones, right? And they're the ones that are going to provide movement for you. So here we see the bicep, for example, which is connected to your humerus. And if we take this bicep and we look even further, what is it made up of? So this is a skeletal muscle, and it's made up of these packaged muscle bundles, also called fascicles. And these muscle bundles are surrounded by connective tissue. So all of this right here is a muscle bundle. Now, within the muscle bundle, we find the muscle fiber, which is this. Okay, so within muscle bundles, we find muscle fibers. So notice that each bundle can contain multiple muscle fibers. And these muscle fibers, which we're going to look at the structure in more detail, they're made up of continuous muscle cells that are fused together. And that's what gives the appearance of this multinucleated cell. Now, if you look within the muscle fibers, you're going to find these tubular myofibrils. And these tubular myofibrils, they look like tubes, right? And they run the length of the entire fiber. And it is right here within the myofibril that you can actually see how the muscle contracts. So the myofibril is responsible for muscular contraction. All right, if we move further down here and we look at the structure of the myofibril in a little bit more detail, we see that the myofibril is divided into these units. Okay? And these units repeat along the whole length of the myofibril. So these units of that repeat are called sarcomeres. So here's a sarcomere, here's another sarcomere, another sarcomere, and another sarcomere. Okay? So each sarcomere that you find within the myofibril is the contractile unit within your muscle cells. Contractile unit. And when we look at the actual contractile method of how muscles actually contract, we're going to see exactly what's happening here within the sarcomere. Okay? All right, so this is a structural arrangement of skeletal muscles ranging from the big overview of your bicep muscle. So within the bicep muscle, you have muscular bundles. Within the muscular bundles, you have a muscle fiber. Within the muscle fiber, you have these myofibrils. And then within the myofibrils, you have the repeating units, the contractile units known as sarcomeres. Okay, so moving right along, we look at the muscle fiber structure. And I'm actually going to look at the whole labeled structure here. So this is the whole muscle fiber structure. So again, what's the muscle fiber? So the muscle fiber, we're looking at this structure right here, okay? We're looking at this whole structure that's made up of individual myofibrils, okay? So what do we see inside the muscle fiber structure? Well, we see a whole bunch of myofibrils, right? These tubular units, and they're striated, and that's what gives muscles their striated appearance. So each individual muscle fiber has the following specialized structures that's going to allow for muscle contraction. So let's look at these structures one at a time. So remember I told you that they are multinucleated. So here we see a nucleus and here we see a nucleus. So the fibers, remember, form from the fusion of the individual muscle cells. So that's why you're able to see many nuclei. They also have a large number of mitochondria. So muscle contraction requires ATP, so it makes sense that there's a lot of mitochondria. We also see that they have this structure known as the sarcoplasmic reticulum. So what's the sarcoplasmic reticulum? That's like an endoplasmic reticulum, but it is specialized. It's specialized for muscle contraction because it stores calcium ions. And notice that the sarcoplasmic reticulum is within the contractile unit of the sarcomere. We also see that the muscle fiber contain these tubular myofibrils. Of course, these are just the tubes that you see right there. And then when we look at the muscle contraction, you're going to see that the tubular myofibrils, let me highlight those, the tubular myofibrils, they're made up of different myofilaments. And it's made up of two different myofilaments, one called actin and one called myosin. So we're going to look at those two myofilaments within the myofibril, right, within the tubular component here, because it is here, the sliding of these thick and thin filaments, that we actually get the muscle to contract with the help of the sarcoplasmic reticulum and the calcium that gets released. Okay. Now, if you look on the outside of the muscle fiber, you see the continuous membrane that surrounds the muscle fiber, and this is called the sarcolemma. So the sarcolemma is the membrane outside the muscle fiber, and these membranes contain invaginations. Okay, so these depressions here are called T-tubules. And it's important for you to recognize these structures within the muscle fiber. It's also important for you to recognize the structures within the myofibril as we move on to muscle contraction in the next video.